Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real, everything he signed is sealed. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real, everything he signed is sealed. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real, everything he signed is sealed. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real. Let's go get it. Everything signed is sealed. Now Christians want to know if the man Jesus Christ is real. Like 25 to life, he's real. Like you heard in the hook, everything he signed is sealed. Lift his name up high, Christians know the deal. They know Jesus Christ sacrificed his life on the cross. Without his blood shed, our world would be lost. Fake gods measure up, fall away short. Trying to blind us believers with praise report. That's why I stay prayed up. PCTC's the motto. Christ's riches worth more than the lotto. And not monetary gift short of eternal. Other deities compare their life virtue. Christ is the only man who blesses my house. So I stay praising constantly without doubt. In his presence there is life, like Pastor Paulette said. There's only one time I can say that I rep. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real, everything he signed is sealed. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real, everything he signed is sealed. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real, everything signed is sealed. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real, everything signed is sealed. Let me tell y'all a story about a man from NY who had many situations made him want to die. He went out looking for love in the wrong places. Wanted to get stroked up like the girl change her faces. Wouldn't believe the pain that this man felt. But all he ever wanted was love under his belt. Lady after lady said that they wanted babies. When they came to loving him, went ghost like Patrick Swayze. When each dagger to the heart made weaker from the start. Got me screaming out like the Simpson they bought. Can't believe it when all he wanted was attention. And a special lady out her mouth, his name mentioned. Little did he know God's love unconditional. Unlike women like J Fox, unpredictable. He won't let the world see his tears, but to God late at night he made a song cry with fears.
Tell me what your Christ like.
When you're rolling through,
Or are you ashamed?
if you are, what you gonna do?
The sins I revoke.
But your righteousness will be approved.
Heaven or hell.
Tick tock, time to choose.
Tell me what your Christ
When you're
like.
rolling through,
Or are you ashamed?
if you are, what you gonna do?
The sins I revoke.
But your righteousness will be approved.
Heaven or hell.
Tick tock, time to choose.
What your Christ like? What your Christ tell me like? No. What your Christ like? What your Christ tell me like? You know. What your Christ like? What your Christ tell me like? You know. What your Christ like? What your Christ? Come on. What your Christ like? What your Christ tell me like? You know. What your Christ like? What your Christ tell me like? You know. What your Christ like? What your Christ tell me like? You know. What your Christ like? What your Christ tell me like? What your Christ like? Mine is real. Everything he signed is sealed. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real, everything he signed is sealed. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real, everything he signed is sealed. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real, everything signed is sealed. Day after day, the cycle continues. Seeking love with no luck, unfulfilled venues. Man left alone, like a king off the throne. Like one man walking through the Georgia Dome, where the Falcons play. Thoughts of love go astray. Feelings of isolation over and over replays. Won't let the devil get the best of me. Jesus is real, Satan go to the west of me. Cause my God is real, won't give him less of me. And the devil stay busy working desperately. He stay testing me. The God be the glory. Call me a sellout to the Lord. True story. Be a talk about your God is this, your God is that. My God is the realest, all others are whack. Then they listen to the realest disciple. Close your eyes. Imagine life without the bliss and reach to the sky. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real. Everything he signed is sealed. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real. Everything he signed is sealed. Tell me what your Christ like. Mine is real. Everything he signed is sealed. Tell me what your Christ like. What your Christ like. Mine is real. What your Christ like. What your Christ like.
Y'all come on in, come on in, come on in. I want to say good evening to my Speak Talk fam. Good morning to my overseas fam. I want to welcome you all to another episode of Disciple Talks. I am your host, Esco the Disciple. We'll be kicking it with you guys for a little bit. This is season 2, episode 10 of my podcast, Disciple Talks. And wow, I'm just blessed, man. I'm just blessed, man. I can't really say anything else other than I'm blessed, man, just to be here with you guys. It's just an awesome thing to realize that I got people that actually been supporting me and rocking with me since September, man. Since September, and it's been pretty cool, man. I've been learning a lot about myself in this process, man. So I'm just thankful for all that chose to rock out with your boy. So just a couple quick things, real quick, before we get started. So next week, March the 24th, is actually my youngest son's 8th birthday. So next week there will not be an episode of Disciple Talks. I will be, of course, celebrating my son's birthday on next week. But definitely, take that time to, for those who rock with me every they take that time to just definitely fellowship with your family or anything of the sort. But of course, I'll still be posting things throughout the week on Facebook and YouTube, and still just allowing the Lord to lead me whichever way that He see fit. So again, next week, which will be Sunday, March the 24th, or Monday, March the 25th, overseas, there will not be an episode of Disciple Talks next week, but we will come back the following week and continue on from there. So all is well, all is well. Just continue to lift one another up in prayer, man. We are in crazy times. And I'm not saying that because there's any one thing that's going on, but just continue to think about your fellow person, man. Think about your friends, your family. Continue to keep them lifted up in prayer, man. That's so important in this day that we live in. We want to definitely make sure that we continue to keep each other lifted. You just never know what somebody's going through, man. So it's real important for us to definitely make sure that we take the time to keep each other lifted up. Um, and really, the last thing that I want to really say is that if you haven't done so, please continue to subscribe to my podcast. Of course, I am on most major podcast networks: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, iHeartRadio. So definitely continue to subscribe to me there. And then also, I have recently launched a YouTube channel as well. So you can definitely check me out. All my recordings will be on YouTube going forward. And then, of course, little inspirational videos on YouTube. They call them shorts. IG and FB, they call them reels. So all my content will be on there going forward. So definitely, the support has been tremendous. I appreciate everyone that has subscribed. I appreciate all those that will subscribe, and then just um, continue to lift me up in prayer, man, as I continue to go on this journey and continuing to find myself in this walk that I am doing. So I definitely appreciate that. So yep, that's about it. So with that being stated, we're gonna go ahead and move on and get started. And before we do, anyone that watched my promo video, I told you guys that I have a special guest. This is my brother. This is my guy right here, man. I love this dude tremendously. He has a nonprofit. As a matter of fact, you see my merch that he was so kind enough to bless me with. If you guys are watching on the recording, you see my shirt that he was kind enough to bless me with, of course. So he has merch for sale, and then not only that, but just what he's doing. I am firmly 185,000% behind this guy and what he's doing. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring him onto the stage at this time. A returning guest. This is actually his second time on Disciple Talks. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring up my brother, my guy, Mr. Errick White. And you
What's
guys,
going on?
what's going on, Brody? How you feeling today, man?
I'm doing fine, man. Blessed, man. Thank you for having me again, bro.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, with that being stated, bro, we just gonna go ahead and jump on into it. So, the title of this week's topic, or this week's topic that Eric and I are gonna be discussing, is gonna actually be called "Finding Yourself." Finding yourself. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This was actually not what I was going to discuss this week. I actually was gonna do something different, but I had an opportunity to attend a fellowship at Eric's church. And shout out to the good folks at Relevant Church. Definitely appreciate everything that they're doing over there. And then them just having me, in the fellowship yesterday, it was awesome, man. I had a wonderful time, meeting all the guys and having conversations. And there was one gentleman in particular that Eric and I was engaged in a conversation with, and he said that he was, he was going through some things, but he was trying to find himself. And when he said that, it just, Eric, I looked at you, I was like, wow, that'd be an awesome topic to talk about.
Yeah.
So
It was really deep. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and jump into that today to talk about finding ourselves. So for me, I always feel like the journey to find yourself is ongoing. Um, I said something in church today that I really believe wholeheartedly is that you never want to get to the point where you have arrived. We have a destination in mind that we continue to go on. You know, we're on this journey, and I feel like until we reach our heavenly destination, we're going to constantly be on a journey. But people get so caught up on a particular destination, Eric, that I feel like that they miss out on all the jewels, all the things that God shows us along the way of that journey. And so, if you can just, jump in and just, what do you feel about the topic of finding yourself? What do you feel about that?
See, when that topic, thank you for having me once again, bro. But when that topic was mentioned yesterday by the gentleman, it hit home with me. And then when I turned around and I spoke on it with you, and we both kind of thought at the same thing, like, yo, this is so powerful. You have to really enjoy the journey. It's not focused on the destination, because you and me both have a story in life. And if we would have stayed stuck into that place that we were suffering from, into that place of, that was hindering us from things from the past, we wouldn't be where we are today. But you have to enjoy the journey, because you have to, like a saying that you say, you have to grow through what you go through. So you got to look forward. Like my mission is with my nonprofit is is to focus and to move and help people progress for a better future and a better now, because your past does not define your future. And
Right.
if you allow the things from the past to continuously to hold you in that darkness, you will never find out how great God created you to be. So you got to focus on the journey, not the destination.
Absolutely. And, one thing I want to point out, Eric, that, we talked about yesterday, it's not too late. It's never too late to find yourself.
Never.
It's never too late to find yourself, in the sense that I think this gentleman that we were talking to, I think he was maybe late 40s, early 50s or so, maybe a little older than you and I, but
Yeah.
definitely not like what I would say is old or anything like that. But he was a middle-aged man who really, you could tell, I saw the struggle on his face. I saw that he was really battling with some things, and he didn't get too in depth with it, but as he talked with so much conviction, and he talked with so much hurt, that you can tell like he was really in a space where he didn't know which way that he was gonna go. So I say all that to say, it doesn't, don't think just because you've reached a certain point in your life that you are no longer able to find yourself.
That's true.
Don't think that just because, oh, I'm 60 years old, or I'm 40 or whatever, I can't find myself. If God blesses you with another breath to take, if God gives you the autonomy to wake up another day, then you can trust and believe that you still have an opportunity to change the narrative of your life. Now, no, we can't take away what has already happened. We can't change the past. If there's anybody out there that has figured out a way that you can go in the past and change things, holla at me, because I got some bills and some things that I need to change. But I'm a safely assume that we can't change what has already happened. But you do have an opportunity to impact your present, and you have an opportunity to impact your future. and it can start today. You can start on that journey to find yourself beginning today. Go ahead, Eric.
Now, remember, all right, I found out, just talking to that gentleman, it was nothing but God that put him there in that environment around just a bunch of other, not knuckleheads, not people that he may be used to hanging with, because he don't seem like no troubled guy at all. He seemed like, just like he said, like he told me and you, he's trying to find himself. And that was God placing him in that environment so he could do what that ministry was made for, fellowship. And he was able to fellowship with different individuals, and I just perhaps to be a partner of the church and a member of the chamber. You were actually a friend of mine that was a guest as well, and boom, we all hit it off, and we were in full-fledged conversation that we didn't even get up to play golf.
Right.
It's in connection because, like he said, we don't know anything personal about him, anything like that. But like I told you yesterday, how my cousin told me over the summer, I said, man, I'm 39 years old and I'm just now starting to find myself. I'm just now in a place of happiness and peace where I actually love myself. And my cousin turned around, and he's way in California, and he said, well, at least you found yourself, because some people never find themselves. So no matter how old you are, at least you found yourself. And I had to allow God to take that time and separate me. And like I said to you one time before, I had to separate myself from people that were committed to not understanding me, so I can focus on the journey that God had aligned for me in life. Because if I didn't go through the storm that I went through in life, if I didn't go through the pruning process, the pruning stage in life, I would not be where I am today. I would not have the lifestyle, the smile on my face, the peace in my heart. I would not have it if I didn't go through that. I had to go through it, but you have to grow through what you grow through.
That's right. That's right. In order for you to get to, you have to go through. Exactly. You're not just golden by going through nothing. You have to go through that fire. I remember you saying something that you heard in your church where you said it had to happen. It had to happen. Like, life, a lot of times when we're going through things, we don't understand in the moment why it is that we are going through it. But on the other side, when you come on the other side of that thing, you realize, man, I had to go through those things. I had to get beat down in order for me to rise up. I had to actually go through those things in order for us to be able to come on the. So I thank God for just the journey, and I thank God for having me go through some different things in order for me to be able to come out on the other side, where I can seek to. So I definitely appreciate that, and I'm so thankful to God just for allowing me the autonomy to be able to go through those things, and even in the moment, not necessarily understand why I'm going through it, but just going through. That's the most important part, just going through.
And when it comes to that topic that you mentioned, actually, that topic that you mentioned, it had to happen. Hello?
Go ahead, bro. You good. Go ahead.
That's the topic that you mentioned, it had to happen. That was the very first sermon that I heard from Pastor Ginger Simpson at Relevant Church. And that's what made me join Relevant Church. And it made me sit back. She put me back in a time in my life where I had to reflect on a lot of things that I went through in life. And I had to go through those things in life, like the stroke I had, the suffering from alcoholism, the mental health, undiagnosed mental health. I had to go through all of that because there's someone out there that needs to hear your story, that needs to hear your testimony, to know that they can push through and they can go through the storm as well, and they can live to see a better day. But it's up to you of what you learn from it. You have to trust the process. Don't rush the process.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I like what you said right there. Trust the process. Don't rush the process. I love that. Because here's the thing. I heard somebody say one time that people want to have this microwavable faith where you set a timer like, okay, God, I need you to do this for me in 10 days. But see, faith doesn't work like that because we can't operate in our own timing when it comes to finding ourselves. And that's the thing that I want people to really get. You you make the choice to start the process of finding yourself, but God has to actually order your steps in order for you to find yourself. See, the thing is that when you try to rush something, it doesn't necessarily work out in your favor. For example, you put something in the microwave, right? You put let's say leftovers in a microwave for a minute, right? And you say, I want this thing to be warm in a minute, but it's been sitting in the refrigerator all night. So you put something in the microwave for a minute and you take it out and you mad because the middle of it is still cold because you're rushing the process. You're not allowing that process to go and take the necessary time that it needs in order for it to finish out the way that it's supposed to. So it's real important that when you make the decision that you want to seek yourself or find yourself, that you trust God on that process and realize that it is a journey. And really, the destination, honestly, and thinking about it, to me, the destination is actually the journey, and vice versa. The journey is the destination. Because as you are going along in your walk, you are constantly finding out things about yourself to get you to that ultimate goal of finding yourself. So it's real important for us to realize, man, that we have to allow the process to play itself out and don't have that microwavable faith because you're going to wind up messing around. Yeah, the outsides of it might be warm, but when you put your finger in it or try to take a bite out of the middle of it, it's still going to be ice cold. So you got to allow the process to take place in the way that God sees fit. So that way you will be able to get to by going through and growing through what you're growing through. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I mean, and like what you do in your videos every single day. You're not just speaking to people just to blabber off at the mouth. You're speaking from experience. You're speaking from those things that you went through in life where you're giving people that same type of encouragement that you wish you had 16, 17, 20 years ago. And we are both speaking from that same type of experience, but just from different backgrounds in life, because we don't want to see individuals go down that dark path. We don't want to see individuals just flat there on their last leg of hope, because just like yesterday, we were put in that environment for that gentleman to actually have that conversation with. God placed him there Saturday morning for that very particular reason. And that's why we're actually having this conversation today, because of what he actually said out of his mouth. So I thank God for placing him there. And I thank God for him opening up and just sharing the little bit that he did share with us. Because what if he would have just came there and he just felt out of place because he didn't have anyone to talk to? He may have left there feeling a whole lot worse, but I'm pretty sure he left there feeling, I know he felt better leaving there than he did when he came in. And we don't even know what he was dealing with.
Absolutely. And I want to commend you first and foremost, because you definitely initiated that conversation. You initiated that conversation and you gave that man a safe space to express himself. And that's what it's all about, man. Giving people safe spots for them to be able to express themselves. You never know what somebody's going through, man. You just never know where they are in their journey. You never know if somebody is on the brink of suicide. You just don't know. You never know, man. And that's why one of the things that I try to do, and I'm learning to do, again, and please, guys, for anybody that's listening, Errick and I have not arrived. I want to make that very clear. We're not perfect. We don't know everything. None of that. We are just two cats who have been through some things in life that are wanting to use our platforms to be able to encourage people. That doesn't make us perfect. That doesn't make us experts or anything of the sort. We're just two, guys that want to use our voice to encourage our fellow man, our fellow woman to be able to rise up out of the situations that they're in. But getting back to what I was saying, you just never know what anybody's going through. You don't know where they are on their journey to find themselves. So you want to make sure that you provide a safe space for people to express themselves so that way they can be open to receive whatever God is trying to do through the vessel that is in front of that person. This particular point, I feel like it was Errick. Errick, he basically said, "Hey, bro, what's your name? How are you?" And then the man it was like a river. He just started pouring out, "Hey, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on." Or he didn't get too specific, but he basically, shared some things about himself that made him open up to wanting to find himself. And it's my prayer. One thing that I prayed for this morning, Errick, for that gentleman. I forgot what his name was, but for him to whatever it is that is a hindrance for him, that hindrance be removed from his path, so that way he can find himself or start the process of finding himself. Because it's so important, man. Like, you just never know, man, what somebody's going through. And I wanna encourage anyone that's listening to us that maybe that there's something that you're struggling with and that has you lost. So whatever it is, I will say, and again, I'm not an expert, I will say, identify whatever it is that might be causing you that hindrance, address it, and then start the process of healing, man. Because you can't heal unless you address what's going on. One of my favorite analogies, Errick, and I'm gonna let you hop back in, is a paper cut, right? You can't begin to heal from a paper cut until you know that you have one. You can't heal from any kind of pain until you acknowledge that you have a pain. When I was 7 years old, I broke my arm. And I broke my arm by falling off of monkey bars and all my weight of my body fell onto my arm. Crazy thing is that I got up, I kept on going. I didn't even realize that my arm was broke until my cousin who was with me at the time looked at me and was like, "Yo, bro, your arm is in the shape of an S right now." And when I looked at my arm and I realized that my arm was messed up, then I acknowledged, man, my arm, something's wrong. I didn't know that my arm was broken, but I knew something was wrong. So then I went to my dad, and my dad took me to the hospital. I had to have surgery. But had I not acknowledged what was going on, I could not start the process of my healing. So I know that's a real extreme case, but I want to use that to drive this point home. You cannot heal until you acknowledge what it is that has you broken in the first place. You cannot. It's not possible. Because if you sweep stuff under the rug, if you just go on about your business, you're not going to be able to heal unless you acknowledge what it is that has you broken. Go ahead, bro.
And see, with that being said, like it's a saying, and I'm not 100% sure who I heard say it, but it's a saying that says God cannot heal what you won't reveal. And I've heard that. I read it in a book. I've heard it in in a sermon before. And you have to heal properly in order to find yourself, number one, because if not, you're going to actually pour all that excess, waste or bodily damage that you're experiencing. You're going to pour it on someone else that doesn't deserve that. And like with that young man, I know a little bit more now about him, but I'm just not going to go into detail on it. But just hearing what I do know about him, that man needed that space yesterday. And the reason I say he needed that, when I told him exactly what my pastor's slogan for the chamber was, one of his slogans it's called the chamber where a man's voice is validated. There's so many times in life where us as men feel like they seem like it's soft. They feel like they can't go to nobody and talk to nobody because they feel like they're gonna be looked down on. They feel like it's not manly to express your feelings. And that man didn't express and pour out what he was really fighting for and suffering for on the inside, but that man needed just that little 1 hour conversation, just mixing it up, chopping up between me and you. And I'm just so thankful that I have become to the point in my life where I've been through the proper things to work on myself so I can be that voice or that listening ear to not just other men, but even I get better within my own personal life. So my past, healing from my things in my past is actually going to help me get better with listening more. It's going to help me get better with opening up more. It's going to help me get better with helping more people in life. So I'm just glad that me and you both were happy to be in the same vicinity yesterday, brother, and was there to help that gentleman.
Absolutely.
Because God cannot heal what you won't reveal. And how does the other saying go? If you don't heal from a cut, you'll bleed all over the ones that didn't cut you, or something like that.
Yeah, don't bleed on people that didn't cut you. Right. So
yeah,
right. Absolutely, man. And it was so awesome, man. Like I said, I'm just thankful for you to invite me. I know the last one I couldn't make it out when you had it down at the church, but I'm just thankful that I was able to make this one. The fellows were awesome. The fellows were awesome, and just creating that safe space for somebody to express themselves. So it was just awesome, man. So with that being said, Errick, I got a couple of tips that I want you to chime in on with me on ways to find yourself.
Okay.
So the first thing is, in order for you to find yourself, you have to get uncomfortable. And I know that sounds crazy, like you want me to get uncomfortable to find myself. Yes, because if you're comfortable, Errick, and you know this, and I know this, if we're comfortable, you don't want to move. You don't want to do anything because you feel like you've arrived. You feel like, oh, I made it. I don't need anything else. So in order for you to start the process of finding yourself, you have to get uncomfortable in that. Got anything you want to add on that?
When it comes to what you just said, really does, it really is true, because you cannot stay complacent and stay stuck and stagnant in a certain situation because you're not giving yourself any room to grow. So you have to get uncomfortable to get to that comfortable place in life, because once you go through this whole pruning process, you're gonna upset some people, you're gonna break down yourself, you're gonna get uncomfortable. So you have to go through it to build you to be who God created you to be.
Absolutely. So then once you get uncomfortable, now you can start the process of stripping down yourself to build yourself up, so that way you can go forth on that journey, excuse me. So then the next thing that we need to do is you need to visualize your ideal lifestyle. What does your ideal lifestyle look like to you? Now, when I say this, I want us to be realistic when we do that. Don't say, oh, my idealistic lifestyle is to be rich and famous, because that might not be in the cards for you. I feel like maybe 1% of everybody in the world, or less than 1% of people in the world, are rich or what have you. So you want to visualize your ideal lifestyle, but you want to be realistic with yourself when you're visualizing that ideal lifestyle. Maybe you have goals. You want to do something for the community, what have you. Or maybe you want to go back to school and get a degree or something like that. Those things are a little bit more realistic versus saying, I want to be rich. Because being rich, at the end of the day, to be rich, you still got to do something. You still got to put some work in order for you to be able to achieve a certain amount of financial success. So we definitely want to make sure that we visualize the ideal lifestyle. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, remember yesterday we were talking, and we both stated out of our mouth that we're not doing things that we do for money.
Absolutely.
We're not doing this because we know we're gonna guarantee check at the end of every single week. I don't care about that because I know I know God is gonna send the finances. But the thing is, the future that I had and that I have right now, the vision that I have, God gave me that vision back in 2022, because I was a merchant seaman. And when I heard this story on the news about a young mariner and what he did, it made me wake up because I said, you know what? I was in that place in my life at the age of 18 to 31, struggling, didn't have anybody to talk to. So my vision, the vision that God gave me was to help people. But in order for me to get into the place where he wanted me to help people, to put the place that he wanted to put me in, I had to help myself. So I had to allow him to work on the inside of me. I had to take care of my mental so I can get to where I had to go, because I had that vision. But what's the purpose of a vision if I don't even have myself together?
That's right. That's so true, man. That is so true. Having a vision is great, but what are you doing to see that vision come to fruition? So that was real good, man. I like that. The next thing we want to talk about is reflect on your relationships. Now, this one is real important because both past and present relationships, you want to think about, hey, are these relationships healthy? These relationships beneficial, or do they drain you? And when I saw this right here, I thought about you and I thought about your testimony. And by the way, guys, if you guys have not checked out season 1, episode 4, where this man right here broke down his testimony, I encourage you. This is that. And sidebar, shout out to my man E. I told him yesterday that episode, season 1, episode 4, is still the highest rated episode that I have done to date. And I really feel like it was because of you being so transparent with your journey. So if you guys have not checked that out, definitely go back onto the podcast. It's not actually a video for uploaded. If you go to my podcast on your whatever podcast network, check out season 1, episode 4. And that was the first part of my mental health series. I had Errick on the first time. But I thought about what you talked about when you were, I think it was a bar or a club or whatever, and you had all these people, buying drinks and popping bottles. And then when that bill came, it was like a whole bunch of money. And you was like, you know what? I got it. But where were those people at when you got sick? Like, where were all those people that you were popping bottles with, buying, doing this and that? Of course, I know your mom was there. Shout out to Mama Avis. I love you, Mama Avis. But shout out to your mom, and but other than your mom, where were all those other people that you were doing stuff for, that you have relationships with in the moment? So we want to reflect on the relationships that we have, past and present, in order for us to be able to make sure that we have healthy boundaries set in those relationships. So that way you don't want to hinder yourself in finding yourself. You have to make some tough decisions, and there's going to be some people that you may have to cut off because the relationship means you're no good. Go ahead, bro.
It's funny you mentioned this because my wife, she mentioned something a couple months ago when we were, in the beginning part of our dating stage before we became husband and wife. And it kind of broke her down to hear about the past, how I was to people, and how it's just like people could be dangerous, man. People can be very dangerous because you can give your all to someone. You can give someone your last, and once the lights go out, you're there in that dark by yourself. When I was on on my bedroom floor, June 14th, 2021, in the dark for 3.5 hours, and like I told you, God, I wanted to give up, but God had extra push for me. But from then into now, I still cannot even pick up the phone and call 5 people from the past and say, "Hey, man, check into." Matter of fact, I sent the actual link of your podcast, that episode, to a bunch of people. Man, you know how many cats actually hit me up and was like, "Yo, that's too long. That's too much information." Yo, but you can sit here and listen to all these hip hop videos on YouTube but you can't even chime in. My man's ain't asking for no money for this, but yo, you can at least support my man, and you can support me by listening to my testimony and by supporting his channel. But I can't pick up the phone and call neither one of them for nothing. So that's why, like I told you the other day, when I got married, I had a bunch of people from the past. Yo, when you get married, make sure you hit me up, invite me. Yeah, whatever.
Right. Yeah, man. I mean, you make tough decisions when you find yourself, man. You really do. You make a lot of tough decisions. People from your past that ain't mean you no good. Like I told, we've talked a little bit. There's one person that I dealt with, that I ran around with, that I am still cool with today, and that's my boy Ernest. Like, me and him
Oh
are
yeah.
like this. That's my dog. But other than that, there was other people that I was running with back in the day. I don't even know what happened to them, because when I switched my lifestyle up, I was no longer it was no longer cool to hang out with me.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was no longer cool to hang out with me because I wasn't doing the same things that I was doing back then. So, it's all good though, because I feel like, although I'm not gonna lie, I'm a human, and sometimes I miss the camaraderie of what I had back then. But I also realized that my lifestyle is no longer conducive of hanging out with some of them people. And I find my peace in that, and realizing that they didn't mean me any good, because here it is, years later, I'm still, I'm now starting to build my network of people. Of course you're there, and Ernest is still there, but I'm starting to build my network of people. But those same people, them knuckleheads that I was running back, they now, here we're in our 40s, they still doing the same things, and
Yeah.
there's no progression.
It's not you don't want to go back down that path. And like we was talking yesterday with that gentleman, and he even said out his own mouth, and me and you both said it, when we said people look at us now and say that we think we this, we think we that, or we think we too good for them. And it's not that we're not better than nobody. We're better than who we used to be.
That's
We
right.
don't want to go back to that path of who we used to be. And like I told you, I had to, like the minister Lori told me in my church, she says, you had to start allowing God to utilize you. Stop allowing people to use you. And I think when I told you that back in September, man, that's something that me and you both have stuck with, because the calling that we have on our life is what we're made to do. And that is to encourage, empower, motivate, and inspire as many people as possible, and to uplift God's people, man, because so many people are giving up on life each and every day. Every time we blink our eyes, somebody's giving up on their life, man.
Right.
And we need more ants. We need more disciple talks, more Erricks. We need more, more positive speakers.
Or change.
Positive speak. Yeah. I mean, just
Right.
like I said, I can say this to him blue in the face. Yesterday, that was a severe God piece, not just the chamber in general. That young man being there in our presence amongst the chamber yesterday,
Right.
that was God all day.
Nothing but God, man. And that's why, I'm not perfect, man, but I have to give God the glory, man. I know I don't feel like people want to hear that all the time, but I'm never gonna stop saying that, because at the end of the day, God is the reason why you and I are here, why we're still here.
Yes, sir.
God, nothing but the glory of God as to why we get up in the morning and we do what we do. Nothing but the glory of God, man.
Yes, sir.
So the next thing that I want to talk, when we're talking about finding ourselves, the next thing that we want to realize is that we have to learn to do things on our own and focus on our passions. Now, this one in particular struck a chord with me, because if you would have told me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, that I would be doing a podcast like this, I would have told you was crazy. Because for one, I never thought of myself as a public speaker. And two, although I feel like I'm an encourager, I always felt like I'm more of a one-on-one encourager. Like, I can talk to you, we can have a proper conversation, and we can share things and we can uplift each other. So I've always been on that kind of time. But to say that I would actually have a platform where I'm reaching out to people, I never thought that. I never thought that. And I gotta give a shout out to, and right here, I gotta give a shout out to my girl KP up in Michigan. When I first appeared on her podcast back in July of last year, that was kind of the catalyst that kind of got me into doing this. So shout out to KP if you're listening. I appreciate you, homie. But I never thought that this would be something that I would be passionate about. And then also mental health. I'm very, very passionate about mental health. And the reason for that is because of my own struggles and my own things that I've gone through in life, and realize and having feeling a sense of isolation because I was going through my issues and not really having an outlet or having anyone to really bounce those ideas off of back in a moment. So I've developed a passion for reaching people, encouraging people, uplifting people, promoting positivity based upon something that I felt in the moment was negative. But like we talked about, it had to happen that way. Because in order for me to be able to speak to people, in order for me to be able to talk about the things that I've gone through, I had to go through them. So you can't have testimony without a test, people. You cannot. And in order for me to find my passion for doing this, I had to go through some things. I had to be made uncomfortable. Had to be made uncomfortable in order for me to be able to realize what my passion was. So I just thank God for that part as well, man. Go ahead, bro.
See, I mean, with the passion piece, man, you know, speaking of the mental health is something that you, back in September and even before September, you know, when me and you first had that sit down talk and we had linked up and we just sat down and had dinner together. When we was talking, bro, we didn't even know that both of us suffered from some of the same things. Anxiety, PTSD, depression. We didn't know that we suffered from that same stuff. And, you know, and if anybody didn't know, you know, I know you know, but that 216 in my logo means that means more than any and everything in the logo, because that is the one thing that's up there that's going to say, so what does the 216 stand for? And then that's when I can tell you the 216 is 216 months, 18 years of undiagnosed mental health and alcoholism that led to the stroke. So that's why this means so much to me. That's why the things that you endured in life mean so much to you, and you're able to talk about it on Diciple Talks. And I do, each and every day, I do my little videos every single day, and it's always don't give up. And I'm proud of you in my videos, because I know that that's just one or two words, that one or two phrases that somebody may need to just give them that extra push every single day. Because me and you and E were both in that place in our life where we wanted to give up. And we wish that we had a Diciple Talks or a Stroke of Faith Virginia 216 to talk to us, or just to hear an inspirational message from. So that's why I know I do it, and I know you do it as well, because God gave you a purpose in life, man. And I just want to commend you and salute you for doing what you do each and every day.
I am so sorry about that, Joe. I had a mini power outage in my house. My apologies. I hope you held the fort down for me, Errick.
I didn't know what was going on, but I won't go hang up.
I appreciate that. Sorry about that, guys. What were we talking about? We were talking about doing things on our own and finding our passion, right?
Yes, sir. And then the last thing we were talking about was like the purpose. And I was, speaking on, you were purpose driven, and how you had ended up coming into the things you were doing as far as speaking in public and being an encourager. You always been an encourager, but it was mainly one-on-one. But you never thought you would see the day where you would actually be a podcaster talking about the things you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, I never in my life thought, man, that I would be in this position. Never. But that's all about the part of the journey of finding myself, man. Like, I had to realize what it was that I was passionate about. I always had the mind frame of helping people, but doing it on a more on a bigger stage, I never in a million years would you have ever told me, nah, you gonna be doing this. Never. I would have never thought that. So, you know, part of the journey that I'm on is finding who I am as a person to allow God to kind of use me in whichever way that He see fit. And it's so important that we don't lose sight of that. That we don't lose sight of kind of what direction God takes us in, man. It's so important for us to realize that. Go ahead, bro.
Now, people tell me, like I actually had some family members and some people that have known me, they said that they could see that in me, that I would be a mentor one day, or I would be a motivational speaker one day. I never saw it in myself. And maybe I always had that impact on others because I've always, and even every job I've had in life, I've always been a leader. So maybe that's the aspect that they seen that in me and I didn't see it in myself. But now that I'm doing it, I thank God for this gift. I thank God for the journey because I'm able to do the things that I'm doing now. And I'm happy every single day to wake up and have another day of life. But just to know that I'm out here trying to encourage other people to keep going. You know, it's just, it hurts me big time, man. Every time I turn on the news or turn on something on social media to see RIP, because you never know what that person was going through. You just don't know, man. You just don't know.
Absolutely, man. So it's always important to, find out what it is that you want to do with your life. Find out what your purpose is. I'm real big on purpose. I'm real big on figuring out what your purpose is. And again, I'm 41. I didn't really figure out what my purpose really truly was until right before I turned 40. That's when I realized what my purpose was on this earth, was to be an encourager for those who need it. So I would say this to anybody, man. Maybe you are, you don't know what your purpose is, but don't give up hope. And I know one of the things that you always end your videos with is don't give up. Don't give up, man. It's so important not to give up on yourself when you're trying to find yourself. Because here's the thing. Life is like a heart monitor. It goes up, it goes down. It goes up, it goes down. But as long as it continues to do that, that means that you still have purpose. You still have an opportunity to do something. So every day that you wake up and God grants you the breath of life is another opportunity for you to be able to seek yourself, to find yourself. So that way you can move forward, or you can figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing on this earth. So that's so important, man. The next thing I want to touch on, when finding yourself, you have to know when to unplug. You have to know when to unplug. And you can probably take that and go so many different directions. You have to know when to unplug, cut the power source off from things that mean you no good. You have to know when to unplug from social media. You have to know when to unplug from situations, toxicity, a toxic situation. You have to know when to unplug from those things. Now, again, I'm not an expert on it. I can't tell anyone what to do. What I will say, I will basically point you to the Bible where it says, examine thyself. Examine thyself in the sense that everybody's life is a little bit different. That's why we are all made differently. That's why we have different DNA. So what may hinder me may not hinder Errick. And what hinders Errick may not hinder the next man. But you have to examine yourself to realize, to know. I really feel like deep down inside, everybody knows when they're fed up. Everybody knows when they've had enough of a certain situation. So knowing when to cut something off is going to be so key. You don't want to have something remain in your life past its season. The Bible says there's a time and a season for everything, and that includes people. So knowing when to cut certain situations off is going to be key when you're finding yourself, because when you figure out when to unplug or cut the power source off of certain things, now you can begin to find yourself, and now you can begin to grow because of the fact that um you are limiting things that are hindering you from being able to finding yourself. One other thing, and I'm going to bring you after this, Eric, but I'm going to say this: people will keep you where they're comfortable and happy. So if you have people that are around you that only want you to do negative things, or they only want you where they can have you, it's not going to be beneficial for them to have you to cut them off because they can have you where they need you or where they want you. But at the end of the day, everybody owes it to themselves to examine themselves in the situations that surround them. And if something is not uplifting you, something is not promoting you, something is not encouraging you to go to the next level, you have to reevaluate that relationship. And knowing when to cut something off is going to be so key when you're trying to find yourself. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, with that being, you already know, like you said, I can really jab in on that, because with me, it was a lot I had to do. Number one, when I gave up the alcohol, I stopped drinking 3 years ago. That cut me off from, when I had that stroke, that cut me out away from alcohol. So that cut me off from a lot of people I used to deal with. So that cut off a lot of dead weight right then and there. So it was up to me to have that willpower to not go back into that same crab in a bucket lifestyle. So God saw in me what I didn't see in myself, and people seeing in me what they didn't want me to see in myself, because they didn't see any way out of that darkness that I was in along with them. So they were trying to, keep me around buying bottles, drinking, smoking, doing all this and that, because they didn't see a way out. But God had a different calling for me. So I had to separate myself from people that wanted more from me the people that wanted more for me. I had to put myself around more positive people. I had to go to church more. I had to read my Bible more. And the closer I got to God, man, the more and more I kept going to church, the more and more I read my Bible. It was like I didn't even have to cut people off. They gave me the scissors to cut themselves off. You know what I'm saying? So God was just basically removing people for me, because I wasn't removing myself at the pace and the speed that He wanted me to do it. So He removed me, and He just kept me on the straight and narrow path. So once it came time to go, even turn around and look back, I was so far ahead because of the purpose that I have aligned in life, that God has ahead for me, the plans that He has for me, like in Jeremiah 29:11. He has so many plans for us, man, but you have to stay of course and follow His lead, and do not look back to that past darkness, because the moment you look back, you can get reeled right back into that same, what you once thought was comfort to you, but it was a place of darkness and complexity and pain and frustration and depression. You don't want to go back down that path, especially when you have so much ahead for you.
Right.
How they say the windshield is so big because you have that much ahead for you, and your rearview mirror is so small because the small stuff is no longer is behind you. So you got to continue to move forward and focus on what God is leading you, and let go of the pain from your life and focus on God's plan for your life.
My God, I don't have not a thing to add to that right there. My goodness. Oh, that was good. That was good. The windshield in front of you is so big because you have everything in front of you, but that rear view mirror is small because you don't really need to look back there, but so much. My God, that was good. That was good. Man. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. So the next thing is learning to differentiate support from opinions. Learning to differentiate support from opinions. Now, maybe the people that are around you, they will be confused by the journey that you're on of self-discovery. They might not even get it, honestly. And the opinions of people they provide aren't necessarily always going to be the support that you need. What I would encourage anybody to do is next time that you talk to somebody about your journey, or you talk to somebody about your purpose, beware of who's listening, how they're listening, how attentively they're listening, and how they're responding. Be very careful about that, because while they may have good intentions, what works for them might not work for you. And above all, you want to make sure that you trust God and listen to God. Trust your thoughts and your feelings, in a sense that if you have your mind made up on the route that you want to go, you want to make sure that you surround yourself with people that support that vision, that support that journey. Because if you are a recovering drug addict and people that are still doing drugs are trying to get you to go back to the crack house, that's not them supporting your vision. That's not them supporting your journey. That's them trying to keep you where you were or level you down to where you were once before. But if you've leveled up from that person that you used to be, you want to surround yourself with people that support who you are now, not who you were back then. That's going to be so key on your journey, man. You got to realize that you got to support yourself by making sure that you have the right support around you. So important, man. Go ahead, bro.
With that being said, I had to. You have to really be away from manipulation. That's another thing, because I had went around certain crowds, certain individuals, and sometimes it could be people that you even share blood with. It could be people that you call family, but I've been in situations where I was stuck because I felt like this was my cool place. This was the go-to place. But no, this was a place of manipulation. This was a individual that I had really looked up to. But number one, you should never idolize another human being,
Right.
And I was looking up to him for advice and this and the third. But the whole time it was just manipulation, because he wanted me to see things the way he wanted me to see it, and didn't really see things the way I seen it. He didn't want me to see the vision board for myself. He wanted me to see it for his vision. And the vision that God gave you is not the same that he gave me.
Absolutely.
The plans that God has for you is not the same plans that God has for me.
Absolutely.
So you have your lifestyle because you're already at this age and you're just saying, okay, well, I'm complacent and I'm stuck here and I'm comfortable here. Well, I know that there's bigger and better things ahead for me. So I had to separate myself from that manipulation, man, because like how they say it, how does it say? A taker always recognizes a giver. So you have to separate yourself from those individuals that are just draining you like a leech, man, because they don't see a way out. So they want you to stay in that crab in a bucket lifestyle. They want you to stay in the basement, in the darkness, when God has your gift at the rooftop. So you have to continuously to move forward and focus and let go of those things that are holding you hostage, man. And you have to release yourself from your own mental incarceration as well.
Absolutely. I really like what you said there. Takers, they love givers because givers are so willing to give up themselves. A taker's always going to want to associate themselves with the giver, man, because what their sole purpose in life is to take. And in order for them to be able to take, they have to have something or have people that are willing to give it to them. And they have no conscience. So realizing that you gotta check your surroundings, man. Always be aware of your surroundings, and in a physical sense, but also mentally, spiritually, psychologically. Be aware of what surrounds you. Be aware of the things and the people that are pouring into you. Be aware of who's really for you. I really feel like if you examine yourself and you make the decision to find yourself, it is going to teach you. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a very ugly process. Like we talk about, the pruning process is very ugly because you're stripping away things, you're cutting away things that sometimes we've been comfortable with. But realizing that because of the fact that it's necessary for you to do that in order for you to be able to go to the next level, you have to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to remove yourself from certain situations. You have to be willing to cut some things off in order for you to be able to go to that next level. It's so key for us to realize that, man. And then with that being stated, the last thing that I want to go ahead and close out with is how do you move forward? How do you move forward? And what I would say to anyone who is trying to move forward and finding themselves is realizing that finding yourself is it's a process that many people want to do quickly, but that's not reality, man. You can't the journey of life is not a quick process. We gotta cut this microwavable faith out. We gotta cut it out. You can accomplish finding yourself by taking the time to engage within yourself, doing the inner work within yourself. And then I always encourage everybody, seek God, man. Seek the face of God. Now, in doing so, does that mean that you got it all together or you've arrived? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like we talked about earlier, and I'm going to speak for Errick on this, and I know he'll co-sign this. We are not perfect. We do not have it all together. We're still trying to figure this out as we talk to you all. But seeking the face of God to understand yourself, your values, your interests, your fears, it's an experience that needs a growth mindset in the sense that you have to see things for what they are. You have to see the value in continuously learning who you are and not feeling like you're selfish in doing that, even though it's something that is self-centered. But the greatest project that you will ever work on is yourself. That is the greatest project that you'll ever work on. I always like to, the point that I like to bring home is the only person that each and every one of us ever have to deal with 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 366 days a year when it's a leap year, is yourself. Not your kids, not your mate, not your partner, not your friends. You have to deal with yourself, which is why the greatest project and the most important project that you will ever work on is yourself. So take the time to figure out what it is that yourself is lacking, what yourself needs. Take the time to do those things, man. It is so important. We never want to put someone else above ourselves. And I know that sounds selfish, but hear me out on this. You can never be anything for anyone else if you're not right within yourself. You can't do it. You cannot do it. So it's going to be very important for us to realize that working on yourself will be beneficial for the relationships that you establish with other people. I promise you. Because when you have a solid foundation within yourself, now you can build upon that. Now you can put things on top of that foundation. But if that foundation is shaky, it's going to make your building lean to the side. And if it leans to the side too much, it's going to tumble over. I don't want anybody who's listening to me to tumble over. So take the time to work on yourself, build yourself up, make sure that foundation is shored up, and you'll definitely benefit from that, and others will benefit from that from you, because you will be a better version of yourself when you take the time to work on yourself. Go ahead, bro.
You know, you have to, like you said, you have to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. You can't help anyone else if you don't love yourself. And you got to give every battle to God. And I know it may be easier said than done. Like we shared with the gentleman yesterday, this is not an easy task. Walking on a positive track, on a positive Christian track, it is not easy, because the enemy is trying to throw you off each and every step of the way. If he sees you have a good relationship, if he sees you have a good job, if he sees you on a straight path, he's going to throw some type of curveballs to throw you off track. But you have to love yourself. And you got to give everything to God, and God will give you that peace, power, and purpose to move forward, to do any and everything that you want to do in life. But you have to love yourself first. You got to put yourself first. You got to put God first in every single day. because you cannot continuously to pour from an empty cup and pouring into each and every person out there and leaving yourself empty.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So we're gonna go ahead and end on that note, man. So to sum it up, finding yourself is loving yourself. And again, people on the outside looking in might think that that's selfish, but I would challenge them and say it's not selfish, it's necessary. Like Errick said, you can't love anybody else effectively if you don't love yourself. And anybody that loves you, that truly loves you, will appreciate you trying to love yourself more, so that way you can be a better version for any other relationship that you have, whether it be business, romantic, platonic, friendship, whatever. In order for you to be the best version of yourself, in order for you to be able to give the world the best version of yourself, you have to love yourself. And the process of loving yourself, it won't be easy, in a sense that sometimes it's going to reveal certain ugly things, but it's necessary for you to go through that process. Anything that's worth anything in life will never be easy. It never will. That's why, and I actually said this in church today, that's why everybody can't be a doctor. That's why everybody can't be a lawyer. That's why everybody can't be a lot of different things, because some things are just hard to do. Getting a college degree or, different things. Some things are hard to do. So everybody's not going to be able to do it. And working on yourself and finding yourself is no different from that, in the same aspect that it's not going to be easy. But it's going to be worth it for you to work on yourself, so that way you can be the best version of yourself to offer the world. You're trying to do bigger and better things. Start with doing bigger, better things within yourself. That way, that will help you to find yourself. And then that way you can be at an optimal level. So you guys know how I rock. At the end of every episode, I want to go ahead and offer up a prayer for anybody who feels like they are lost within themselves, or they're trying to find themselves. I want to definitely take a moment to pray for and with you all. If prayer is not your thing, that's okay, but it is mine. I pray daily. It doesn't mean that I'm perfect. It doesn't mean that I'm anything other than a man who every now and then gets lost, to be honest. Because again, I haven't arrived. Sometimes I go astray. Sometimes I fall off or what have you. But I still want to take a moment to pray for anybody who feels they need it. And with the topic in mind of finding ourselves, I want to take a moment to pray for anybody who feels like they need to find themselves, or maybe you're on the journey of finding yourselves and you've hit a rough patch, wherever you are in your journey of finding yourself. I want to go ahead and pray with you at this particular time. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you right now, Lord. We thank you for another opportunity to be in your grace, your mercy, Lord. At this time, Lord, I lift up anybody who feels they need to find themselves, Lord. I lift up anybody who might have started the process but have hit a rough patch. Lord, continue to speak to that situation. We don't know all, but you do. And we trust and believe in the promises that you've made to us, that if we seek your face, that you will show up and show out. You will intervene in the situations that the world has deemed lost. You will show up for those that has been left out for cold. You will show up for those who are lost. You will show up for those that the world has shunned. You will show up, simply put. And we thank you in advance for showing up for those who are on that journey. We thank you in advance for showing up for those who need to start the journey of finding themselves, Lord. And we pray that they will seek your face, so that way you can be a guiding light. You can illuminate the path that they shall go. So that way you will order their steps and their journey for them to find themselves, Lord. We ask that if there's any hindrances, if there's anything that is hindering anyone under the sound of my voice, that you show up in that situation, that you show up and show out as only you can, Lord. And we know that all is possible if we put our trust and faith in you, Lord. All is possible when we put you in it. all is possible when we add your super to our natural. And let us not forget to give you all the glory and all the honor and all the praise. Because yesterday, today, and forever, you alone are God, and you are most certainly worthy of that praise. And we ask all of those things in Jesus' precious and holy name. And let everyone say amen,
Amen.
amen, amen. So before I let y'all go, man, I want to go ahead and just shout out my brother, Mr. Errick White, founder of A Stroke of Faith, Virginia 216. You guys can check him out on Facebook. If you guys are looking at the live feed, you see the banner scrolling on the bottom there. Check him out on his Facebook page. If you want to get in contact with him, he has his email address there as well. Stroke of faithva@gmail.com. Disciple Nation, you know how I rock. Go to his joint, shut his joint down, flood his page with love. He's an awesome man. That's my brother. I love him tremendously, man. I'm so thankful for his purpose and his mission. And, you know, if there's anything that he can do, or if you need any kind of speaking engagements or anything, he's available. Holla at him through his social media platforms, an email address. And if you got anything that you want to close out with, bro, I got it.
I just want to say thank you for having me again. I just want to say thank you for having me again, bro. And it's an honor to do God's work along with another brother of God, another man of God, another brother that has been my brother since I was 17 years old. And for each and every person out there, I want you to know that no matter how tough the battle gets, God has a plan for you, and do not give up. And I'm proud of you, and you're not alone. I don't know who that's for, but don't give up. I'm proud of you, and you're not alone. Keep moving strong and keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Don't give up, man. He ends all of his inspirational videos with that saying, don't give up. And we definitely, want to promote that. Do not give up, man. Don't give up. Well, that's our time for this evening. I want to thank you all for tuning into another episode of Diciple Talks. On behalf of my man, Errick White, I am your host, Esau the Disciple. We're signing off. I want to say take care. God bless. God loves you all. I love you all. But never forget, God loves you more. Peace.